Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, January 5th. A very active weather pattern continues across the nation. Of course, California has been hit by storm after storm, and it looks like that pattern will continue for at least the next 7 to 10 days or so, with additional very heavy rainfall across the low-lying areas, the coastal regions, and significant snowfall amounts in those higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada across eastern California. Some of these storms are making their way all the way across the country, but some are also weakening as they get into the eastern half of the nation. There will indeed be some threats in the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. over the next several days, and we'll kind of go through some of these. Of course, snow lovers are hoping for a snow event coming up. Probably the best chance comes by the middle of the month for the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S., and even that's questionable. We're talking about the 13th, 14th, 15th time frame. One of the problems over the next week or so will be the ability to have enough cold air for an all-snow event in the I-95 corridor region. And again, we'll talk about that over the next several minutes. Let's focus in on the European model. This is the European ensemble run from last night at 0Z. We're looking at the North America view for 500 millibar height anomaly pattern going forward here. As we begin the day on Thursday, there is a upper level low centered over the upper part of the Midwest, with, you see the blues here representing lower heights than normal, and storm after storm out across the the Pacific Ocean area, slamming into the west coast and even farther upstream to the south of the Aleutian Islands. We have a very strong jet stream cutting across basically from west to east across the Pacific Ocean, pushing a lot of moisture right into California. Meanwhile, there is some higher heights than normal ridging across northeastern U.S., southeastern Canada, and south central Canada as well. Not a classic picture by any means for cold air intrusions into the eastern part of the nation. Now, let's move forward and watch this pattern evolve over the next several days. Again, I mentioned up front that some of these waves that are pounding across California move into the central U.S. and then tend to weaken as they push through the eastern third. Watch, you see the upper level low here as of early this afternoon, and then it just kind of shrinks and tends to fall apart here. And this is a system for Friday that can throw only a few showers of rain or snow in the northeastern part of the nation, because it is, again, a weakening system. Here's another storm about to approach the west coast of California, and let's keep moving forward here. And talked about this in, last week and earlier this week about any hope for snow in the Mid-Atlantic region or northeastern U.S. You'd like to see one of these systems out in California really take a southern route and then perhaps move up along off the eastern seaboard like that. At the same time, a lot of the ridging that has been focused in on this part of the nation needs to retrograde to the west over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. And we have a little bit of that in the works here, it looks like, for later next weekend, again, by the middle of the month of January, 13th, 14th, 15th. Let's move ahead to that time frame here. And here we have another system here that could throw a bit of rain or snow into the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S., late Sunday, Sunday night into early Monday. Doesn't look like a big deal. Again, this is one of those waves that cross the country and tends to weaken here, at least in the past several days and the next few days. It weakens as it reaches the eastern third of the nation. Just not enough upper level support. Now, let's move forward here in time. Now we're going into next week. This is Tuesday, January 10th, and we'll keep pushing ahead here. And notice again, I mentioned a little while ago, here's next Wednesday morning, the middle of next week, we have ridging starting to kind of focus in over the central part of Canada, the Hudson Bay region of Canada. And indeed, some of these waves now are starting to take kind of a southern route here. And we'll watch this. Again, the ridging that was really focused over here is tending to retrograde by the middle of next week. Now, we'll continue to move ahead here into the latter part of next week. And here we go. Here comes one of those waves here by next Thursday. This is a week from this morning, next Thursday, January 12th. And look at the ridging now, the higher heights than normal. Not in southeastern Canada or northeastern U.S., but back over the central part of Canada. That indeed should allow for high pressure at the surface to develop right in this region right here late next week. And that in turn allows for some colder air to filter its way down the eastern seaboard. So again, this is a more favorable pattern here, not perfect by any means, but if you're looking for snow or a positive snow threat here late next week, following weekend, this is a little bit better of a pattern for sure. This is taking the southern route. This is building back to the west or retrograding. Let's keep moving forward here. Here we go by a week from tomorrow, next Friday, the 13th. A lot of ridging centered over Hudson Bay region, deep upper level low over the southeastern U.S., taking that southern route, and then it starts to really intensify right along the eastern seaboard. So again, this is a time of interest. Still way away to have any kind of certainty, but this is probably the best threat for anything in the Mid-Atlantic region of note in terms of snow. Late next week, weekend time frame. This is again Saturday, January 14th, by the time we get to the middle part of the month. And this particular system right now is way out west over the Pacific Ocean, so do not expect this to be set in stone with this kind of an outlook here, as this system, for example, is thousands of miles away, well over the Pacific Ocean at this particular time, but certainly something we'll monitor over the next several days. Now let's take a look at the 850 millibar temperature pattern. Again, this is using the ensemble run of the European from 0Z last night. Certainly not a cold kind of a pattern that we experienced in the eastern U.S. during the latter part of December. A lot of above normal conditions across Canada. Now, let's move forward here. We have a little bit of an area of colder than normal temperatures here moving in on Friday, and it certainly will get more seasonable in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Northeast U.S. by the upcoming weekend as compared with yesterday and certainly the day before. Very, very warm conditions. Yesterday morning, I think there was a record high minimum temperature at Dulles Airport in the Virginia suburbs of D.C., but we get more seasonal certainly by Friday, especially by Saturday and Sunday. Not severe cold, but more seasonal cold by this weekend in the Mid-Atlantic region. Now, let's keep moving forward here and watch what happens. A lot of warmer than normal conditions, maybe cold actual temperatures, but warmer than normal at the 850 millibar going into the latter part of the upcoming weekend. And here we are going into early Monday, and there's that next system with a little bit of normal or a little bit below normal air, but certainly not a strong system, not a heck of a lot of cold air around, so there could be a bit of snow or rain. DC, Philadelphia, New York City, let's say late Sunday, Sunday night, early Monday time frame. Doesn't look like an all snow event, doesn't look like a lot of precipitation. So let's move past that and going into the middle part of next week. Here we are by next Wednesday. This is the middle part of next week. Another storm system slams into California, and these lower temperatures than normal kind of represent those areas where it's deep upper level low. Next storm right in line here, cutting across the Pacific Ocean towards California. Then we get into the latter part of next week, and here's when things could get more interesting here by next Friday evening. And then finally by Saturday morning, the 14th, we have colder than normal conditions across the southeastern U.S., maybe near normal across the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, that upper level low tends to intensify this time as opposed to the next couple of systems that tend to weaken in the eastern U.S. This one late next week, weekend, could actually sit and spin for a while, maybe even intensify, and that raises some hope for snow lovers in the Mid-Atlantic region, northeast U.S. And again, marginal cold air around, but really all you need this time of the year. We're getting into the time of the winter where the climatologically speaking, it's maybe the lowest temperature, maybe by the third week of January or so in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. My point is seasonably cold conditions latter part of January may very well be conducive to snow in much of the Mid-Atlantic region. So this is a time period late next weekend. This happens to be a forecast map for Saturday the 14th. Again, that's the time period of focus, maybe the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from last night's run of the European model, 0-0 on all these maps, by the way, from tropicaltidbits.com. Not much going on across the eastern half of the nation for the most part. Another storm system in California. Now let's move forward here. We have a little bit of an instability, shower of rain or snow tomorrow, later tonight into tomorrow across the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast U.S. Again, a weakening system, so don't expect much at all in the way of precipitation tonight or tomorrow in the Mid-Atlantic region. A lot of precipitation, however, out across California. Let's keep moving forward here. Another instability shower maybe tomorrow afternoon in the Mid-Atlantic region. Then we get into the upcoming weekend. There's one system right here over the Midwest early Saturday morning. Tends to weaken. And then a follow-up system right on its heels does show up here and hold a little bit of strength by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. But it too is a relatively weak system, a relatively fast-moving system by the time we get to Monday morning. Could be a bit of rain or even snow, D.C., maybe even up into southeastern Pennsylvania, New York City perhaps, late Sunday, Sunday night, early Monday time frame. Again, a weak system. Then we keep moving forward here. That system actually tends to intensify off the East Coast early next week, and we'll have to watch midweek next week. There will be another system approaching the coast, and we'll have to watch this. Right now, it looks like it'll be kind of harmless off to the south and east, off the coastline of the Carolinas by the middle of next week. Still several days away, so we'll have to see if that could pose any surprises by the middle part of next week. Then we'll get into the latter part of next week. And remember, earlier in this video, I mentioned because of that upper level high starting to build back over Hudson Bay region, central Canada, that usually is correlated with strong surface high pressure to its south and east, maybe south central Canada, southeastern Canada. Anybody who's been watching my videos over the years knows that this high is a crucial factor that I look for with any possibility of snow in the Mid-Atlantic region, Northeast U.S. You always would like to see a high in the southeastern part of Canada that kind of holds the cold air in place, which is kind of a necessity, kind of a requirement for accumulating snow in the urban areas along I-95. This is a good position. A week from now, next Thursday, it is pushing colder and colder air into the Northeast U.S. And here comes that next California storm that moves into the central part of the nation. And we'll keep moving forward here in time later next week. And that dives to the south and east. And we do have by next Friday still some strong cold high pressure situated over the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and into the southeastern part of Canada. This is now next Friday night. We go into Saturday morning. And here's that system right here. Right now, off the Carolina coastline, but there certainly is some cold air around in this part of the nation. It wouldn't take much to pull this back a little bit farther to the north and west, making for kind of an interesting threat, to say the least. Next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're talking the 13th, 14th, 15th time frames. So something we'll certainly keep focused in on over the next several days. One thing for sure, California continues to get hit by storm after storm, coming off the Pacific Ocean right into the Golden State. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.